You are listening to the USDN on the DFPN.
It's a trap!
What is up, everybody? It's the chairman of the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. And I'm a little out of breath because I was rushing to get this shared out across all the beautiful platforms that we are located on. But some futures don't arrive quietly. They rebuild themselves from the ashes stronger, faster, and more advanced. But progress always comes with a price. And tonight, we step 200 years into the future, a rebuilt Japan where guns are outlawed and technology has reshaped society, but yet violence still finds a way. Laser blades, rising factions, a city under constant pressure, and in the middle of it all, a detective named Miko. Please tell me I said that right.
Yeah, you said that right.
Trying to survive long enough to uncover the truth. Our guest tonight is writer Todd Black, a creator with over a decade in comics, more than 50 published stories, and the architect behind the Cyberpunk detective saga, Tokyo Blade Detectives. And Volume 3 is reaching its climax with issue number 12 on Kickstarter, an interlude story about consequences, legacy, and what happens after the dust settles. Ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Nerds is now in session. Todd, welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, my friend.
Honored to be here.
Now, let's get into this because it is a really cool story. It's like Japanese Star Wars in my eyes, is how I look at it. But Todd, for everybody meeting you for the first time, who I think is everybody here today, who is Todd Black as a creator?
Like I said, my name is Todd. Nice to meet you. I'm a writer of comics and novels. Been doing this for over a decade now. I'm a guy who just loves to tell stories. And if you ever were to come to one of my Comic-Con tables, you'd see I have not only a wide spread, but a wide array of genres that I have tapped into, with anime being the latest one, comics-wise, with Tokyo Blade Detectives. For me, it's about the story, it's about the characters, about trying to get the most out of it so that you, the reader, will enjoy what you read every single time. And I endeavor to put my best foot forward and my best, well, not pen, I type, but I try to do my best with my writing, and I appreciate everyone who reads any of my books.
So what was there a particular comic book in your life that kind of pulled you toward writing comics yourself?
Actually, not a comic book. I grew up in the 90s, in the golden age of superhero television. So Batman, TAS, Superman, TAS, Justice League, Batman Beyond, X-Men, Spider-Man, all of them. And I was enamored with all of it. I didn't read my first official comic book until I was 18 years old because I didn't realize that there was a comic store near me. And even if I had learned sooner, I guarantee my parents wouldn't have bought any for me. It's like, Todd, you need to buy it yourself, but they're so expensive. But eventually I went to C2E2 in Chicago, Comic-Con.
Okay.
And I went to a panel called Making Comics the Marvel Way. And on the panel was Matt Fraction of legendary comics fame. And I said, hey, I have had this idea for a comic in my head for a while. What do I do to make it real? And he goes, look, if you're a writer and you want to make comics, go find an artist and go make comics. Like almost word for word, that's what he said. And so fast forward, I don't know, 2 years, because apparently you need money to make comics. I I finally got the funding to make it, and I found an artist named Alex Garcia, and we made my very first comic series called Guardians, which was my superhero story. And then I just started working one issue at a time, one book at a time, then started jumping genres. Then I went from comics to prose for a bit. I've got a bunch of prose novels out across a couple series. And now it's just about trying to get the next story out, trying to get the next adventure out, and seeing where everything goes.
You're up to 50 stories.
50
what
plus.
keeps you schematics on that one? What keeps you creating, man?
Like I said, I love stories. My biggest problem. Okay, I got a lot of problems. Okay,
Outside of money.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the big one. Is that I think some people underestimate how much it takes to make a comic, and especially when you look at certain Kickstarters where they're making, thousands and thousands of dollars. Everyone thinks, well, they're rich. No, a lot of that goes into the comic and production, and then making the next thing,
and then paying people on top of it.
Yeah, not, and it does include doing things like Comic Cons, which I try to do a lot in my area. Those cost money just to get the table, get the comics to sell at the table, and then you have to sell enough to try and make a profit. It takes a lot, and I've been lucky in that I've had jobs that have supported me enough so I can do all of this. But it does cost a lot of money to make a single book, even with novel writing. It costs a lot because you might think, well, you're only just typing the words, right? Well, that's true, but you're also paying for the cover. So depending on your artist, that could cost a lot. And then if you have an editor, which you absolutely should, they could cost you as much as like 10 comic pages because they're going through, hundreds of pages and helping you with story flow and grammar and all that. So it all adds up in the end. But my other problem is that I just have way too many ideas in my head. Like I already know what I want my next comic series to be, multiple comic series. And then I just finished one prose novel, which is off to editing, and I'm already starting my next novel adventure in a completely different genre. So I just don't have the time for it all. And then I have side jobs. I have my main job. I have Comic Con, so it'll be starting for me in 2 weeks. And so much to do, but I love it. And I love that I have something to hold on to. It's like, even if everything else is going bad, I've got my comics, I got my novels, and I got these other stories that I want to bring to the world.
Let's break that down real quick because I don't think people really understand. So if you get a table at a Comic-Con,
right,
just a local Comic-Con, a table is going to be anywhere from $25 to $75 at a small one. And we're talking a small convention. They may not even provide you the table. So now you're on the hook for the chairs and the table. You just don't want to show up with a table. So therefore, now you need a banner with your name or logo on it. So quick estimate, $35 to $50 for that. Then it's the display stands. You just don't want to have your stuff just laying on the table. You want to make it look nice for the people coming to see you and learning who you are. So let's say $50 to $100 for comic book stands or something like that for a proper way to make your comics presentable to the masses of people. Then on top of that, you throw in the cost of actually producing books. Say he's out of a book. He goes back to his printer and says, hey, can you print me 25 copies of this book at what, $3.99, $4 a pop?
Depends on the printer, but that's a good estimate for now.
So we're talking about that one day trip to a Comic-Con, local to his house. We're looking at $500 to $600. 1 day's worth of work, and we now have to make that money back somehow, which gets unfortunately given out to the customers in the price of the book. So that's how that breaks down for anybody who's ever wondered how that works.
And just to be clear, that was for a small con. All right.
Yes.
For next month, one of my biggest show of the year, for right now at least, is I'm doing a show called Planet Comic Con Kansas City in Kansas City, Missouri. One of my best show I do every year by far in terms of sales. But even then, that's a $400 table just to get there. And then I drive 6 hours to get there. And then I have about $400 for the hotel.
Lodging.
Yeah, they got $400 for the hotel, plus food, plus whatever other expenditures hit my way. So right there, I need to make about $900 to technically cover costs. And technically I'm not, because of comic orders and everything. That's an entirely different thing. So things can add up very, very quickly if you're not careful. So
there you have it, folks. You love to see when your favorite comic creator shows up at Comic-Cons. The small guys like Todd and all the other indie creators who you see on this podcast, when they appear at a Comic-Con, it's out of their pocket. Mm-hmm. And it's not cheap. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're saying. And that's why we push so hard to support indie creators on the podcast, is because why not? They deserve as much love as the big guy, because a lot of these guys are producing stuff better than what Marvel and DC are putting out right now. And I will die on that hill.
I won't deny with certain ones.
But no, sorry, that was a tangent. Every now and then something comes up, and it's very dear and near to me because I do love Comic-Cons, and I think it's important for people to understand what actually goes into those. And that was just a good opportunity. Thank you.
Trust me, Comic-Cons are a huge part of what I do, just because due to the nature of my let's say existence, I'm a hermit. Like, I work from home and everything. So Comic-Cons are my way to expand my reach. And there are plenty of people at Comic-Cons that I'll never meet online. So this is my chance to reach out to them to say, like, hey, there's this book that they might like. And I've met lifelong friends at these shows. Mm-hmm. So, my life would be so much more boring without these Comic-Cons. And now, are they stressful? Absolutely. Can they take a drain on me? Absolutely. And next month I got 3 of them. But I'm doing it because I love it, and I get to see people I care about. I get to sell my books, and if they go well, then I'm above and beyond. So it matters.
No, I love that, dude. But let's talk about Tokyo Blade Detectives. Okay. We're gonna dive into this. So, what sparked this idea for Tokyo Blade Detectives? Because it looks like such a fun series. The hype video on the Kickstarter looks so much fun.
Thank you.
So, what really brought this about?
Okay, so if I were to tell you that I grew up on the age of Toonami with Dragon Ball and Outlaw Star and Sailor Moon, and that I've been a Pokemon fan since Gen 1, and I was there for the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise all the way up to 5Ds. I don't like to talk about Zexal. And I tell you about all the anime franchises I have, you might think, well, Todd, this clearly has been something in your mind for years that you wanted to do. No. I came up with this idea because of a Facebook meme.
That's even funnier.
I know, right?
What meme was it?
Okay, so when you sometimes like are scrolling, doom scrolling Facebook or Twitter, Blue Sky, and you come across those memes like, "What are your insert blank here?" And it's where you have to like take your first letter, your first name, your birth month, whatever, right?
Yes.
So mine was, this is like 2017, something like that. Mine was, what is your anime title? I'm like, okay. So it was first letter of your first name, T. First letter of your last name, B. Then last letter of your first name, D. T, B, D. Tokyo Blade Detectives. Now, about this time was when the first Deadpool movie came out. And one of the key lines from that movie was, Deadpool smells like a franchise. So I had that stuck in my head, and I was like, Tokyo Blade Detective sounds like a franchise. Enter. Left the comment, left the page. Completely forgot about it. Didn't even register. Get back onto Facebook a few hours later, and I have a reply from an account name that I don't recognize. And I usually know who's always replying to me and whatever. And I'm like, who's this guy? So I click, and it's from the Facebook meme. And he goes, that actually does sound like a franchise. You should do something with it. I'm like, okay. So I looked at the title. I'm like, what does this tell me? Tokyo, obviously set in Japan. Detectives, modern day. But Blade was sticking out to me. Why would there be blades in the detective's hands? And then that's when the tagline happened. In a land where guns are outlawed, only the blade can rule. And right when I said that, the floodgates of my mind opened up, and I just got swarmed with so many ideas of what I wanted to do with this thing, to the point where I did something I had never done at that at that point, which was I opened up Microsoft Word and I typed up everything I was thinking because I did not want to forget.
Yeah.
Now the
Dude,
problem,
that's awesome.
yeah, the problem was that I was doing another project at the time and I didn't have the funds or the artists to go find to do this idea. So I just saved the document, put it away, and then once I got those projects done, it took me about 6-7 months to find the right artist to do it because I wanted a very anime style visual palette and visual style to make it work. And I was going through numerous artists, including my go-to guy, Alex Garcia, who I didn't want to use because I had relied on him heavily up to this point. I wanted to give more artists more opportunities and all that. Love you, Alex. But I finally found a guy named Lam Vuvan. And once I saw that first page, I'm like, this is the guy. And we've been working each other for now 12 issues across 4 or 5 years. So it's been quite the rush. And now we're finishing up volume 3, which is far more than I thought we'd get. And even Lam kind of cheekily said to me when I gave him the script for number 12, he goes, you know, Todd, I actually didn't think this would go this long. Thanks, Lam. Thanks for the faith. So, but
that is awesome. And what a great way to have something land in your lap and then you've ran with it for 12 issues, which I think the only comic book I can think of 2 off the top of my head that have gone about as long. And one of them is Ben Lacey's Shark of War.
Oh, I know Ben. He's great.
Ben's amazing person. And then Jason Linnett's Lords of the Cosmos. Lords of the Cosmos is a fantastic story. But just off the top of my head, those are the only 2 where I can think where they've had that kind of longevity over that long of a, of titles. So it's kind of cool. And seeing that this one is no shit, issue number 12 and still going strong.
Yeah.
But
and I already know what's going to happen next volume. Like that's how my mind works. I'm already planned up to 25.
Dude, keep it going.
I'm doing my best.
Why a future Japan with strict no guns allowed law?
Well, one of the things that the floodgates opened up was that I wanted to do like a different kind of story from most other animes because usually it's either like, say, like My Hero Academia with superpowers, or then you have like Outlaw Star and Cowboy Bebop with all the future tech weaponry, like super high-powered rifles and all that. And I just felt it would be so much more fun to make it just about the swords. There's other technology that is used in Japan, as you'll find out when you read the comics, but it's all about the swords. And sword play, I feel, is more intimate because there's different sword styles, there's different sword types, as I show in the book, and I get to play on the history of Japan, which is, of course, the samurai. So I got to have fun with that. And then it's just a different kind of visual to where it's like, it's the future, but we're also going back into the past with swordplay and samurai and ronin and yokai. And that was really intriguing to me. I felt like it was something that hadn't been done before. I don't feel like there's been an anime or like this before. And I'm saying anime loosely because I know it's a comic, but still, like this really inspired me to say, like, everyone else is going this direction. I want to go this direction.
No, it's really cool at the core of what it is. Let's turn our focus over to who Miko is at the core.
Yeah,
Miko, you being your main character there.
Miko is my 16-year-old main character, or one of them, and she is the most angsty teenager you have ever met, which was one of the most important things for me, because one of the things I do with my books is that I'll look at certain characters and I go, okay, I've written this kind of character before. Now I need to do this kind of character. And a previous female-led story I did was called A Home, which is available on the Kickstarter. And the main character is named Alicia. And I wrote her as being the kindest person, most relatable person you've ever met. It's just she has blue hair. And I wrote in that style. But with Miko, I'm like, okay, I had the pure kid. I want the angsty teenager. Like, I need the one that is just going to bite your head off all the time. She'll rarely admit you're right, but she backs up her crap, which I also thought was important. And that's why in the very first word, her very first line of dialogue is die. And I was like, that's perfect. That's what I was structuring it, like, because she gets, just a small spoiler, she gets confronted by some thugs and they're making fun of her, and she just pulls out her laser sword and goes, die. And then she does just that. So they're not around anymore. So, I wanted to
that's one way to solve your problems, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
violence isn't always the answer, but this time
it helps.
It is the answer.
Yeah. Like, and she was just like, and she didn't even bat an eye when her partner, her not really a father figure, but let's say business partner, Michio, asked her what happened. She goes, oh yeah, I had to deal with some thugs. They're gone now. And she just went on to chug a soda. And it's like, she doesn't care. She knows this is a child that's absolutely been scarred by all that's happened in her world and just Japan in general. And she's got a lot of pent up frustration. And for me, one of the things that I like to do in each arc is show that even though she's hot-headed, even though she's loud and sometimes obnoxious, she has feelings that she lets come out in certain moments, so that it's clear that, you know, she's fragile. You know, she's broken in some ways, and she's got to heal, even though she doesn't really want to. And that interests me as just a writer, because I love character stories. And for me, this very much is about Miko and how Tokyo reflected upon her and impacted her. And then Michio is the same way. He's got a very long history, as I tease in the book, and we're slowly getting the layers peeled off on that. And then they have connections with everything that's going on in Japan, from the factions to the emperor, who we meet in volume 3. In fact, we meet him finally in this issue. So the issue is on Kickstarter right now. So everything is connected, which is a reference actually to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which was one of the anime that heavily inspired this series, because I loved how everything from episode 1 to the series finale was connected. You know? So if you watch the whole series, you got so much out of it. If you pay, so long as you paid attention. I'm going to be doing the same thing, where every arc feeds into the next one. So issue 1 was our starter, Welcome to Tokyo. Issue 2 was about meeting one of the key factions and how their antics are affecting things on a grander scale. Number 3 is we have a wild card entered into Tokyo, and the emperor wants him dealt with. Volume 4, I won't spoil that. But
yeah, you got to save some for
it will be revealed in the final page. It will be revealed in the final page of this issue. So it's going to be.
How have you evolved Miko as a character throughout these 12 issues?
That actually ties perfectly into current volume and issue, where Miko, because of her experiences with her family, with factions, with Japan in general, she views things in black and white, as most kids and teens would do, because she has seen things and she has experienced things that are like, they're evil, end of story. Volume 3 is about a serial killer acting very atypically of the factions. They're not associated with the factions, and they're killing people in a way that no one expected. And she's just like, let's kill the freak and be done with this. And Michio cautions and goes, no, we have to not only find it, we have to understand why he's doing it. And she's like, I don't need to understand another psycho's mindset. That's what the factions are for. You know, she's over it. She doesn't, we don't need another monster in Tokyo. That's all she views in her mind. But then as things go on, she learns a certain key truth, and she doesn't know how to comprehend it. She's like, this is wrong, but, and she explains, I don't want to spoil too much for those that haven't read volume 3, but like there's a key like mic drop moment, and it's just like, I didn't expect this. I don't know how to feel about this. And then that's going to play into the next arc, where she's going to have another key character moment with someone who was once very close to her. And I look forward to expanding upon that.
So each of your arcs are 4 issues.
Correct.
What made you choose that format?
First of all, just easier.
It's a good even number.
Yeah, it's 80 pages. Each issue is 20 pages, so a full volume is 80, which is perfect for trade paperback, which is what I saw at my Comic-Cons. It's very easy that way. And then it allows me to think about how I'm going to block out each story. So how I do it is there's the 3 main issues of each arc, and then the 4th issue is what I call the epilogue series. The interlude saga. And in it, we have basically a epilogue, a interlude, and a prologue to what comes next. So we're tying up the loose ends, we're explaining what's going on in the aftermath, and then here's the tease for the next arc. And it gives me a lot of freedom with storyline to where I don't drag things out endlessly like some comic series do. I make it click, I make it concise, I make it fun, and then I show like, hey, I focus on the aftermath and how everyone's reacting to this, and then here's the tease for what comes next. So it was also a very unique kind of storytelling for me, because with past series, I've either just gone as long as I felt the arc is needed, like I did that with Guardians, or with things like Home, I did just a 5-issue miniseries just so I could write out everything. That's like that was 100 pages. That was one of my longer stories. And then for certain graphic novels, I just went for as long as the page count told me to, like with Thunder Rosa or Five Bullets, 6 Men, or Take the House. It just depends on how long the story goes. But with this one, it gives me that structure to say, okay, here's where I need to put the main content. Here's where I can do the payoffs and everything, and then tease what's coming next.
Dude, I like it. And I like the fact that you are answering questions that I don't have to ask no more. So I do have to ask this one, though, because what do you want readers to feel when they close this last volume here with issue 12?
Hey, no, I'm kidding. How do I want them to feel? I want them to. That's a good question. I want them to see the layers that Tokyo has imparted upon these characters. One of the themes of the entire book is that it's not just people that affect you. It's not even just experiences that affect you. It's where you live. And you can see this with certain people in our world where, people in Chicago act one way, people in New York act one way, people in Los Angeles act one way. And it's not just because of the people where they're living, it's because of the place itself. Our setting affects us in certain ways. And for Tokyo, as I am slowly peeling the layers behind with each arc, it's not a great place to live. It's technologically advanced. They technically want for nothing. But they're in such chaos and confusion and turmoil that it's a lot of people are like lying to themselves. They're just trying to get through the day. Like as long as I don't get killed by one of the 5 factions, it's a good day. And Miko rails against that in this new issue. She's like, I hate it here, but I can't leave. And I'm teasing multiple things with this blowout, and she sees that in how the factions happen, because the factions wouldn't have been here if certain things in Tokyo hadn't gone down. And there are certain influences that the city has in general that affect the people they're almost resigned to their fate. And Miko hates that as well. And Michio, who's seen a lot, he understands that there is beauty in just trying to help one person at a time, whereas Miko sees it as just a job. She doesn't care about the people more or less. She's very much, I need to get paid so I can at least try and make a meaningful existence here.
Yeah.
So
we all relate to that.
Yeah. And so with this new issue, I'm really harping on the fact that Tokyo as a whole is affecting people in ways that no one was expecting, even this long after all these wars and reconstructions have happened. And all it takes, to quote the Joker of all people, all it takes is one bad day to send you over the edge. So,
dude, that was really good, actually.
Why? Thank you. Do you want to know how I got these scars?
That's actually really good. So let's jump into the Kickstarter grind, man.
Yeah.
So this campaign includes all 12 issues.
Correct.
Do you do this type of thing as you conclude an arc? Do you include all volumes with each one, or is this just something special you're doing this time to catch up?
I do it with every campaign. So no matter when you find out about Tokyo and find out about me, every campaign I do, for Tokyo at least, gives you the option of catching up, because I don't know when you're going to find out about me. Mm-hmm. I am not the greatest marketer in the world. I have a lot of people who will happily tell me that. And even with Kickstarter helping, you never know who's going to be on the right day or see your post or who is sworn off the internet or who all made at a Comic-Con. But if they do find Tokyo, I want to give them the option to catch up. So I have reward tiers to where you can get everything digitally. You can get everything physically. For the physical ones, you can get all single issues, or you can get our trade paperbacks. And because this is the end of Volume 3, we're unveiling our the new cover for Volume 3, which is really cool, done by Alex Garcia. And then for those who have gotten like Volume 1 but haven't gotten Volume 2 and 3, I have catch-up reward tiers for that, digital and physical. And it just makes it so that no matter when you find out, so like any of the viewers here who only just hearing about this and like, ooh, I really want to jump into this, you have the option. It's right there for you. And I try to make it fairly priced.
No, that's always a good thing. And I, for one, I am probably going to end up doing the catch up, especially that you have trade paperbacks that I can just read the first, 12 volumes now. So when you do your next Kickstarter campaign, are you going to have the fourth trade paperback ready with?
No, what I'll do is I'll be giving out the issue, but then I'll have you can get 13 issues via the catch up tier versus just 12. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of your, what's the word I'm looking for? Rewards, yes. Cameos, custom art, collector tiers. So what are you bringing to the table for everybody?
Well, the biggest one that I like to brag about is we do have the cameo tier, which is you pledging at home will get to be drawn into the comic book. And in fact, for this arc, I've been pushing to make the cameos even more special because of certain arrivals that we've had. And for a select group of people who pledge before the Kickstarter gets done, you will actually have a talking part in the comic.
Hey, so there you go.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
We have about, I think, 6 people have pledged the cameo tier, so we only have 4 slots left, I do believe. So we got to get on it because we end on Saturday, the 28th at 8 p.m. Then for those who, thank you. If you want smaller tiers, but still meaningful tiers, you can get the comic physically, you can get the comic digitally, including the catch-up tiers I mentioned before. We have stickers, which actually I can show you. There you go. So here's a good nice a sticker of Michio, one of our main characters, and then grab one of the Miko stickers. I buy these in 100 and then just stick them in all the Kickstarter packaging. Nice one of Miko right there. So we have that. We also have the thank you page, which has been very popular over my tenure, where
that's always one of my favorite things right there.
Yeah. And basically, if you pledge to our $15 tier or higher, so if you get the catch-up tiers, you will be included in this. Actually, I can show you that too. This is issue 11 right here. And then we have on our inside front cover a thank you page honoring everyone who has pledged to the Kickstarter, regardless of what tier they were, as long as they were 15 or above. And a lot of people love that. I even had one person. Okay, you'll love the story.
That's how I plug the podcast into Kickstarters that I backed. Is if there's that option, I will choose that option and then plug the podcast instead of my name.
Yeah, if you pledge to my Kickstarter, I'll make sure that you'll see a thing saying what name do you want in the thank you section, and it'll be that one. So put whatever you want. And that's the thing, you can put whatever you want. A favorite story of mine happened last issue. A friend of mine named Joe Myers, who actually runs a Comic-Con that I go to, he pledged to have his son put into the thank you section, which is a very sweet gesture. So I put the name in there. He gets the book, and he goes, "Todd, we have a problem." Like, what? What's wrong? And he goes, "Well, my daughter found out about this. Now she's complaining that she wasn't putting the book." So when he pledged this time, he said, "I've got to make sure that the daughter now gets her name into this." I'm like, whatever makes them happy and gets me a pledge. So
exactly.
Yeah. Let's see.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. I also have tiers that will let you get every single book I have made digitally, both comics and novels. And then there are add-ons that you can get where I guess I've made a lot of books. I made superhero stories, made crime noirs, I've made wrestling stuff, which we'll be talking about soon. I've I've made sci-fi novels. I made Sherlock Holmes novels. So if you get Tokyo, then you go to the add-on section, you can get any of my books that might intrigue you. And I've got plenty. So feel free to look through and see what catches your eye.
Titles, there's got to be something that catches somebody.
I would hope. I've done most genres, and the ones that I haven't done are for very good reason. I don't do horror.
You have done at least 12 Kickstarters in your time. What has been your most important lesson learned running Kickstarter campaigns?
Yeah. Well, one of the most recent lessons that I got to give up some shout outs for Matt Knowles and Carissa Grant. You have to be fair to yourself when you're pricing things. I like to think that I'm a nice guy. I do. And because of that, certain pricing that I had for like the ketchup tiers were incredibly low. Like they were basically at cost.
Yeah.
Instead of like thinking cost plus packaging plus shipping and everything. Because I was trying to cut people a break. But I realized that my funding was low. You know, I was making my goals. I never really feared that. But when I showed it to my friends, Chris and Matt, they were like, Todd, you got to bump the price up. You can't make money like to make the comics, just to be clear, if you're losing money by doing unfair pricing. And so with this third volume of Tokyo, I did a whole new price tiers for everything. And it has helped tremendously. Yeah. It's taken burden off of me versus just...
So how do you normally ship your books?
I don't have... I usually get the mailing envelopes. But then for the bigger orders, like for example, the physical catch-up tiers, I mail those straight from the printer because those are numerous books and I don't want to risk bending. But for like the single issues, I do standard envelopes that you can get like off of Amazon and whatnot.
Okay.
And then
I just didn't know if you use like the I can't remember what the kind of boxes they are, but that you use to actually mail comic books in or not.
Yeah, there's the brown boxes are called Geminis, and I
Geminis. That's the ones.
Yeah, I would use those for like thicker books, like the trade paperbacks. But for the single issues, like the standard, I know there's a standard. There's a name for them. I can't remember.
I was going to say Gemini boxes are not cheap.
They're not, and there are paint to put together.
They're not that bad. The instructions are literally printed on them.
Yeah. So. But yeah, I would use those for like bigger books because you always worry about damage, and I always have at least one person get back to me who say like, "Hey Todd, I know it's not your fault, but the mail people screwed up." Even though I put the "Do Not Bend" stamp on it, like I make sure
it doesn't matter. They're gonna bend.
Does not matter.
I've had one come in where I watched the mailman on my camera when he delivered it. He had it folded. And then folded it more and shoved it into my mailbox. Yeah. I literally just was like, I notified the person. He's like, well, where's the book now? I'm like, in the damn trash. Where else would it be? I can't. What am I going to do with it? Like, it had been folded for so long. Yeah. The crease was permanent, and there was like words that were like missing because it literally had like tore the page also where it was bent. Yeah. So I was just like, I'm like, I wasn't going to keep that.
No, you shouldn't. And when that happens, I have a rapport with my my backers to where I'm like, hey, this happens, message me. I'll send you another copy at no cost to you. I don't care. Yeah. I just want you to get it. I'll tell you a story that can top that. I was doing one of my Tokyo Kickstarters, and I was doing the mail day, which we all love, going to the mail place with like a stack of things. And I got a good relationship with my mail people. But one, I'll never forget this. I had two packages in particular that I sent out. One was to Indiana, which is literally the next state over. I'm in Illinois. It was the next state over. And one was to California. So I mailed them out at the same time, right? I wait a few days, and the California person messages me and goes, hey, Todd, got the comic, good condition. Thank you so much. Like, hey, glad I got to you, buddy. I message on Instinct my Indiana friend. He goes, no, I haven't gotten it. I'm like, wait, really? How have you not gotten it yet? He goes, I don't know. So I'm like, oh, I sent it. Just keep me posted. Fast forward a few weeks, finally gets to him. He takes a picture of it. It looked like the truck had run over it in the rain.
Oh, it probably did.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it looked like a waterlog run over it. I'm like, how did this happen? He goes, I have no idea. And I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. I will send you to. I sent you a new one. He got it within a week from the printer. I'm just like,
Dude, I did an Amazon return through UPS. You just take it to the UPS. They slap a box and a label on it, and away it goes. Right.
Right.
So I did that. A box comes in the mail about a week later, and it's the same exact thing I returned. When Amazon or when UPS printed the label, they printed the return label back to me. I was like, you scanned it. How did you mess it up?
I haven't know that. Wow, that's a new one on me.
So yeah, I had to return the same thing twice.
Yeah.
So it happens. It's not fun. No. But what do you think is the biggest mistake new crowdfunders make? I mean, outside of pricing yourself too low.
Well, yeah, that was one of the big lessons. One of the biggest ones, I feel personally, I can't speak for everyone. And like that's honestly the biggest thing right here. Never ever compare yourself to another Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the best example. Me. All right. When I did my very first Kickstarter, like a long time ago, I was an idiot. Like I did the dumbest possible campaign. I won't even explain it because it's so embarrassing. But I didn't get a single pledge. Then I learned from my mistakes and I did well, but I didn't make my funding. Then when I made Home issue 1, I did everything I could to make it work, get the funding. I had a high funding goal, and I made it. I barely made it, but I made it, and I couldn't believe it. And then I built off that with every issue. But if I had looked at all these other Kickstarters that are making, thousands upon thousands of dollars, it would have depressed me to high heaven that I only made my goal.
Yeah.
Never think that way. You need to base it on yourself. And even Tokyo is a great example of that because I went from a sci-fi fantasy miniseries with Home to a Disney Pixar style Kickstarter one shot with 10,000 Miles. And then I did Tokyo. So that's 3 very different genres. The fan base didn't jump from one to the other.
No, okay? They never do.
I mean, some of them did because they knew.
Eventually they become fans of Todd. And at that point, they're supporting Todd, but not the actual work.
Yeah. And I have people who are like that. And then in the middle of my Tokyo run, I made another book called Take the House, which is a heist comic. And I had a whole new crop of backers because the anime people weren't interested in the heist comic, but a whole new group of people were interested in the heist comic, but not the anime. Mm-hmm. So you need to focus just on your book, what you're selling, and then do your best to advertise it to the people reading, whether it be doing podcasts like this, using social media, doing interviews for comic sites, and then just for the Kickstarter page, advertising what you are, because I have seen so many Kickstarters that rely on, let's just be honest, they rely on covers. And I think you know what I'm talking about there, Chairman. But they rely on covers, and then you look for the interior art, you'll get like a panel. I have never done that. I will never do that. One of my first things, and I've had to restructure things over the years, obviously, but one of the first things I always try to show is the 5 preview pages. Like that's something that I'm proud of that I do from Home to now is I always show at least 5 finished pages with dialogue so that they can get a glimpse of the art, they can get a glimpse of the story, and they know at least a little more about what they're getting into. Mm-hmm. That's important to me because I'm showing them my commitment. I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to make this comic and it's going to be so cool. Yeah. No, I'm making this comic and here's your preview. I do that with Tokyo, did that with Take the House, 10,000 Miles, Home, and any one I do in the future. Like I might be doing one in April. That's still up in the air. But I'll be saying like, hey, here's the pages for that. Here's the examples of what we do and what we have here. This is why you should like it and blah, 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 blah. So my biggest thing is that for new creators, you absolutely should show your finished work. You have to put your own money on the line and show that, hey, I've already finished some of this. You're helping me finish the rest.
Yeah.
Because that preview could be the difference between saying, this is an interesting idea, but I might not like it.
I don't back comics unless I at least have that preview.
What he said. So, because a lot of people, especially comics people, we're visual people. We don't want to read the wall of text. There are people who love the wall of text, and God bless them. But some people are like, I want to see the pages. And I'm like, well, here you go. And there's even tabs now on the Kickstarter page where you can go, where you can put, like, say, preview pages. And you can click right on that and get sent right to the art.
So this is actually a great opportunity for this. So when I go to, I don't back all the comics of people who come on here. Some of them that I get priced out of the shipping because they're overseas. And it sucks because I really want the book. However, when the shipping costs more than the book, I cannot do it.
All right.
It's as simple as right now until the mail system as a whole is fixed. I'm just not willing to bank on a product coming from overseas where the shipping is more than the actual book, and there's no guarantee it comes to me safely and soundly.
Right.
So it's nothing against the persons or the individuals. It's just a lot of risks that I am not willing to take. But when I go to a Kickstarter page, I am looking for, I like to see videos because I'm a comic book guy, right? I'm very visual.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to see when they've spent that extra money to have those first 6 pages animated, and it just looks really cool. And then I want to see it laid out in a way that makes me want to keep scrolling down. Right. You're telling me what this is about, and then you're giving me samples of the pages, and you're letting me see some of the covers. And walk me on the journey of this comic book Kickstarter through the page. And I've just seen one recently. It was a dumpster fire. And Dumpster Fire is putting it nicely because I really wanted to support the project. This person has not been on the podcast at all. I don't know who they are. It was just one of those where the cover looked really, really cool. I was like, let me click that because I like the concept of the story. It was like a horror sci-fi type of deal. And Dumpster Fire. Hardcore Dumpster Fire. So take people through the journey of your book on your Kickstarter landing page. It will do you justice to do that. And have those samples up there. Let people know who you're working with. And which is my great segue into, you worked with Lam Vuvan.
Lam Vuvan.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
He did the art. Yeah, see Matt Shore.
Yeah.
Who did editing, and Alex Garcia did some covering art and the lettering on this book, which you've said that Alex Garcia is kind of like your go-to for everything when it comes to your books.
He's been with me since the first comic.
And I love to see when people are consistently working together like that because it's cohesion and you know what you're going to get every single time. But tell us about your team that worked on Tokyo Blade Detectives.
Yeah, so like I said, Alex has been with me since the very first comic, and the only reason he's not doing Tokyo is just because I knew I'd need him for other projects, and I wanted a new artist to just give some work to share the love, as it were. Like I'm trying to build up a repertoire, an arsenal of artists. So I'm like, here, you do this project, you do this project, do this project. But he's great. He's done every single cover for Tokyo. He's also done some special art for Tokyo that we had as a stretch goal one time. Came out really well. He's amazing. I can always count on him. Matt Shore is actually a fellow comic creator, and he specializes a lot in horror comics. He loves that stuff. Like he's Halloween all the time kind of dude.
I love horror books.
Well, we're working on a project together that you might like, so I might have him come on the podcast one time.
Yeah, perfect. Send him my way.
I will.
Just remember it. I'm about 2 months out of scheduling. So if we're in February, that means I'm usually right now I'm booking 2 months ahead. So April.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. But he's great. And we go to Comic-Cons together. He's a really nice guy. And I'm just like, hey, I need an editor on this. He's like, yeah, I can do that. And then Long Vivant I met on Facebook, and he's really good. He does such dynamic art, especially for the combat scenes. I'm like, hey Long, can you do this? And he goes, yeah, I can do that. And he actually lives in Vietnam. And because of that, he has a knowledge of Japanese media culture that I rely on. For example, in the second volume, we introduced a character, and I said, okay, well, this character is very imposing, so we need to have him like with a bigger weapon than ever. So I'm like, give him like this massive broadsword. And I was like referencing like Cloud Strife and Guts from Berserk. And he goes, Japan never really had a broadsword, right? It had Naganatas though. And I'm like, that's perfect. So we gave him a Naginata, and it looks so cool with how imposing he looks with it. So I rely on his knowledge quite a bit, and he's like I say, so consistent. I know that no matter what page I can give him, he'll do well. Or if I do need corrections, he'll do them quickly. He's like, hey, do you mean like this? And we have a very good back and forth, which is very important with me and my artists, because I can be a perfectionist at times. I'm not afraid to say that, but I know that he can take it and do it, and then he knows that I am grateful for the changes that he makes.
And dude, you have to be. You don't want to put a bad product out attached to your name, and there out zero things wrong with going back to your artist or your letterer or whoever it may be to say, hey, I like where you're going with this. You're in the right area, but it needs this tweak. Yeah. Now, how do you send your stuff over to him? Like when do you just send the story over and he draws the story? Do you have a storyboard per se of like, hey, I want it to be this angle, him looking at the sunlight from this side? Like, how do you do that?
Personally, I write the script, but I try to be as detailed as I can without like massive paragraphs describing one thing. But I go like, okay, we're going to have Miko and Michio in this shot, blades drawn, looking at the bad guy. The camera, as I like to say it, the camera is behind them. And then I try to lend perspective.
That's a very good point you just brought up right there, is for anybody and everybody out there, in case you don't know or you don't read comic books, perspective like you have in a movie with the camera shot also applies to comic books. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to look at a scene like you were looking through the camera lens of a movie being made. So if you ever see something that looks weird and it looks like it's just there, they didn't use the right perspective. And you will catch that in not only, indie comics, but Marvel comics and DC comics. It doesn't matter. Mistakes happen and it just gets overlooked by either the editor or they just don't care.
Yeah.
So,
and that's another big tip for indie people. Never, ever think that the big two can't make mistakes. I'll give you an excellent example from a very recent comic. All right. There was, the DCKO the comic that's out right now?
Yes.
Okay. No, I've been enjoying it. I have.
I don't want DC or Marvel.
Yeah. They recently released like an interlude issue called Boss Fight, where they had basically the DC characters fighting all these other franchises, including Homelander from The Boys, Red Sonja, Annabelle, etc. In one of the panels, they have the World Forger, one of the most powerful beings ever, with Gorilla Grodd talking about how reality is folding on them. And in one of the text bubbles for the World Forger, he says, we're running out of room. Realty itself is folding in. Realty, not reality. And I'm like,
have you seen the housing market?
I mean, it's huge in the multiverse.
Reference to the housing market.
Yeah. And I'm just like, that can't be right. And I even reread it to make sure that I didn't miss like an I squeezed in there. Like, no, they put realty instead of reality. And that's not even the worst mistake I've ever caught in a DC book or a Marvel book.
Gorilla Grodd, that's my dude, man. He's one of my favorite DC characters.
Yeah. So
I like those weird characters like that. The Constantines and the Zatannas.
Sounds great. Question. But going back to the perspective question, or how I handle that, there are times when I'll say, okay, look, Miko is facing the villain, and she's shocked. And then I'll go, panel 5, flip the camera so that's behind her, and we see the villain in full because we didn't see him before in the previous panel to help build the tension. And and he knows exactly what I mean by that. Or sometimes I'll go, okay, where she just got knocked down, show the camera from the ground up so that we could see the character looming over her. Or, hey, we need a top-down perspective here, angled city shot.
Yeah.
That helps explain things. And then other times I'm like, Lom, go off. I love doing that with Alex and Lom. I'm like, guys, I don't know how I want this to look. Here's a loose explanation. Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah,
I want to give them that freedom.
It's amazing how many artists love when you go, hey, just have fun with it. Yeah. And they're going to produce some of their best work just off those words right there. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, and they have. But then there are other times when I've said I need something very, very, very specific. In issue 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I had him draw the Akira slide. I had
walk into the motorcycle.
Yeah, the motorcycle slide, and I even added a little Tokyo twist with the laser blade. And I'm like, I gave him so many references. I'm like, this is the Akira slide. I know you know it, but here's all the references. Here's what we're doing with it. Here's how we're making it our own. And when it's printed, like it looked fine on the page. When it was printed, the printer actually made it darker. Like the color tints were darkened. So I'm like, hey, I need to fix this for the volume. I need you to go back to the page. I need you to lighten this up, freshen this up.
Yeah.
And it did. And
because
it looks so much better.
Going to add that darker tone back to it.
And now it looks so much better. I'm just like, I should have thought this before.
It's funny that you brought that because I actually collect those covers, like the homage covers of that. So anytime I see that homage on the shelf, I pick it up because I just love to see the homage to that scene.
Yeah. It's not a cover, but it's a splash page, and I made sure it got a lot of love. The cover for Tokyo number 12 actually is a reference to One Piece.
Okay.
It's a shout out to Goldie Roger in his infamous wanted poster where he's got the swords right across from him before his death. So I was like, yeah, let's reference One Piece here. So
you've hinted that Tokyo Blade Detectives could expand beyond comics. What's the long-term vision for this project?
The dream, Chairman, the dream. That would be to get my own anime series based on Tokyo. You mentioned before that I actually had an animated video made. That is true. I worked with a team called Studio Leaf, and we basically spent almost a year working on this 90-second piece of animation. I framed it to be an anime style intro, complete with epic track by Omega Sparks, my good friend. And I was just like, I need this to be like the most anime intro ever. We started with a storyboard. I gave it to Studio Leaf. We went through concept art. We went through background art. We went through the motions, the animations, how to tweak things, how to time it with the music. And it turned out so well. And even some of my comic friends were like, dude, you are so mean because now I have to step up my game because I don't have anything like that. Shout out to Fish Lee. And I was just like, I didn't mean to do that, but I was just like, I don't see people doing this. And I put my money where my mouth is. And that was not cheap this because I wanted to show that this could look really cool as an anime. And that is indeed my dream. So the longer I go with this, the longer I can say, like, I got the lore. We just got to make it into episodes.
No, that's really cool. And I think every creator should dream as big as they want their project to be and work towards that goal. Even though that's a far-fetched goal, is still do the things to line yourself up to hit those bigger goals like that. But Todd, let's hit this bonus segment that I mentioned before we went live. And so for those who don't know, I am a big wrestling guy. That's WRASSLIN apostrophe. That's how you spell it. You can't argue with me on that. But Todd did do the autobiography of the Thunder Rosa. And walk us through how this project came about. Was it actually a Kickstarter or was it something that you did for Thunder Rosa and AEW?
Okay, so this is a perfect example of how, to quote you from earlier, something just falls into your lap. So this was 2020. Thunder Rosa was just making her first appearances in AEW when she was still part of NWA and was their world champion. She was going to face Hikaru Shida, who's one of my favorite wrestlers, on an AEW All Out. I'm at this point in time, I have a large group of friends. We were called the Wrestling Knights of the Round, and we would get together and talk about AEW and whatever. So we got together one time after Thunder Rosa showed up, and my sister Maria, love you, Maria. We were talking about Thunder Rosa and how cool she was, and she knew that one of my dream jobs was to work for AEW. In fact, I came up with the AEW Origins comic long before DC ever did anything, and I have multiple pieces of proof for that. But I was trying to get my work in front of Tony Khan to try and prove my worth to the company. Yeah. And so Maria was like, Todd, maybe you should reach out to Thunder Rosa because she wasn't under contract in AEW. And the more wrestlers I work with, the more I could potentially get a job at the company. And I'm like, well, that's great, sis, but how am I supposed to contact her? She goes, she's got an email on her website.
Yeah.
Okay. So I muted my mic. I went to her website. Sure enough, she's like, hey, if you want to contact me, here's my email. I sent an email via my business account. And I was like, hey, Thunder Rosa, my name's Todd Black. I'm a comic book writer. Me and my friends think you're really, really cool. Would you like a comic made about your life? Simple as that. Send it off. Tell everybody. I'm like, there you go. It's sent. And she goes, you never know, Todd. I'm like, yeah, I know, Maria, but still. 15 minutes later, Thunder Rosa gets back to me and goes, yeah, that's a great idea.
That's really cool.
I'm like, why can't everything be this easy? So it was funded by her entirely. We would get on phone calls. I still have her number. Get on phone calls, and I would just say like, hey, here's what we would do. Here's what I would need from you. And then she would just email me like large sections of her life story.
Yeah.
And it's a 60-page comic.
Starting with the graveyards of Tijuana, right?
The graveyard, yeah. We talk about how she was from the graveyards of Tijuana, Mexico. And it is legit her life story in comic form. We talk about her life from Mexico, moving to the U.S., what she was before she was a wrestler, how she got into wrestling, where she got the idea of the Sugar Skull, her time on the indies. And because of the timing
of college, I hope, because she is a USC grad or something like that.
I think we lightly covered college.
Okay.
But because of the timing of it, I actually had through the third issue, the final issue, this was when she was doing like her world tour of sorts. So she was in TNA for a big match against Deonna Purrazzo, and she had the great Skull cosplay. She showed up in GCW and everyone lost their minds. And then I got to show the All Elite graphic with her. And then we ended basically, and right when we finished the book, the whole miniseries, was when she beat Britt Baker for the title. So what I did was
it was a
steel cage match.
Steel cage match. Why was it? No lights or something like that?
No. The lights out match was different, but we have that in the book. That was their match of the year winner.
Yes,
was the lights out match at St. Patrick's Day Slam. But when we got done, she just won the world title. I'm like, well, we got to put this together for like a championship edition. She goes, oh, really? And she goes, yeah, but don't worry, I'll take care of the cover. So I drew her in her outfit, Alex drew her in her outfit from the steel cage match, holding up the belt, and we called it the championship edition. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, but she was absolutely amazed with how it all came out. She was awesome to work with. I made her cry, and I'm like, why are you crying? She goes, because it's so beautiful. I didn't expect it to be this good. I'm just like, well, we're trying our hardest. And I was actually sad when it ended because I didn't get to talk to her. And then All Out 2021, I got to see her where we were in the midst of working on the book. And it was during the pandemic still. So all the talent at the Fan Fest were hiding behind the glass. Not hiding, like they were protected by the glass.
Yeah, no.
And so I show up. She instantly recognizes me. She motions to security. She goes, I have to come around for him. He's my friend. And I was just like, oh. So that's been one of my best sellers because people go, oh, that's Thunder Rosa. And I go, yeah.
Oh, it's really cool. And like I knew there was a comic book made because I mean I follow her on social media as well.
Yeah.
And I was just like I had seen it like at conventions and stuff where she was posting pictures from conventions. And then when it come across when I was looking through your Kickstarter, I'm like, this is the guy that did it. I'm like, that is even cooler.
Yeah. It's one of the few books I don't credit myself in because it wasn't my book.
Yeah.
I probably should have, but I was like, this is about Thunder Rosa. It's not about me. So I didn't credit myself, but like, yeah, I'm the writer of it. Alex Garcia was the artist on it. He did a great job. And it's definitely one of the highlights of my career. And again, but it's also the ones where like, why can't everything be this simple? I sent one email. It wasn't even my idea. And I was like, but it worked out so well. And Thunder Rosa, you're amazing. She just re-debuted on AEW last night, got a big reception. She's amazing. And I'm inspired by her. Her story is truly inspiring.
Now I have to go back and watch AEW because I missed it last night because I was editing another show. Yeah. So I need to go back and watch it, or at least have it up in the background so I can hear it.
It's good. She got a great return.
Good. I love to see her work. I know she's got her own wrestling promotion down in Texas.
Yeah, Mission Pro Wrestling.
Yep, Mission Pro. And just good people down at Mission Pro too, by the way. I got a friend that works down there with them.
Yeah.
But let's move on to some rapid fire questions before we start wrapping this up.
Okay.
So, favorite sci-fi influence?
Definitely Star Trek or Babylon 5. And they were actually the influence for my novel series that I'm writing right now called As We Wander the Stars, which is available on the Kickstarter.
Blade Runner versus anime Cyberpunk, which shaped you more?
Neither, actually. I've never seen Blade Runner, and I can't really think of
that was actually good.
I can't really think of an anime Cyberpunk that's influenced me. I know they exist, but I don't think of that. I'm like, oh, this inspired me. Like all anime inspired
by that one. You're not missing nothing on that. The video game is better on that one.
Yeah.
Favorite Kickstarter reward you've offered?
Cameo. Oh, actually, for home, I had them become knights.
Oh, that's really cool too.
I was my biggest reward I've ever done, like in terms of cost, but I needed it because of the reward, the goal I was going for. But I'm like, you pay this much, you're going to be a main character, like guaranteed.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
And a lot of people pledged to that, which I was grateful for. So,
but one word to describe Tokyo Blade Detectives. One word.
Layered.
Ooh, it's a good one. Advice to indie creators grinding right now.
Okay, I'm gonna lean in for this one. Believe in your books. Like seriously, if you don't believe in what you're making, why should anybody else? I would not release a book that I did not believe in. Okay, from Tokyo, Home, Thunder Rosa, whatever. I put everything I have into my books, and that's why I make them, is because I believe that if someone reads them, they will enjoy it. So believe in your books, and I'll carry you through.
I do want to point out before we hit the ending here, you were fully funded 16 hours.
Yeah, that was cool. That show, and that was a lot of hard work just to get to that. But I had a lot of people. I had my best launch ever via this campaign. I don't even know why. It was just I launched it, and then I have a tradition where I don't even check my campaign for the first day outside of plugging it. And then I checked on the midnight mark. I always launch at midnight, just a quirk of mine. And I was almost at 50 backers on day one, which has never happened to me. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And I was funded in 16 hours. And I'm very, very grateful to my support base. And I'm hoping you watching will be a part of this, because I'm hoping to continue growing Tokyo Blade Detectives through the years.
Perfect, man. It's truly awesome. I love when I log in to see the Kickstarter that's about to come on the podcast and learn that they're almost there or they're there and they did it in like some amazing amount of time.
Yeah.
But Todd, this is the point of the show where you get to plug yourself and where people can find you.
Well, you can find me on Blue Sky. You can find me on Twitter at Guardians_comic. I also have an author page on Amazon if you want to get my books there. If you missed the Kickstarter, I do have late pledges. So if you do miss it, again, we end on the 28th at 8 p.m. Central Time. So you got a few days, but we do accept late pledges. I am on Facebook, but mainly via my personal page. So I'm sure you can find me. Just look for the hair. And But again, the Kickstarter is the place where you can get all my books, including all of Tokyo. So I really hope you'll check it out. I really do love this series.
Awesome, bro. Appreciate it. Todd, seriously, though, this has been a fantastic conversation. Tokyo Blade Detectives isn't just another indie comic. It's a long-running universe built with consistency, vision, and a real understanding of character consequences. Check out the Kickstarter, support indie comics, and follow Todd's work because this clearly isn't done yet. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the chairman of the United States Department of Nerds, where indie comics come to life. Y'all be safe out there and stay warm.
Yes, please.